Okay. So what I want to mention today is the road ahead. Okay. So if you resonate with what what I share as my firsthand experience, and you continue to study at Five Branches, it's going to be interesting. Okay, you're going to hear a lot of stuff. And if you put it side by side with channels, right, you're going to find a lot of things that just like it doesn't make sense to you. Okay, and when that happens, I would like you to smile. Okay, instead of getting frustrated, instead of have this sense that you're being pushed or suppressed or something like that, please have this inner smile. Okay, because very few people are willing to change their way. Okay, my experience is the more experienced the professors or teachers or practitioners, okay, the less likely they're going to change. Okay, even though they experience this firsthand. Okay, they're not going to change. Okay, because changing for them is just too dangerous. Okay, so to me the difference between a seeker and somebody who are not on that path yet is they tend to hang on to things that are more substantial. Okay, I'm doing this because of this book. I'm doing this because of this tradition, right? So that's why I say there's a traditional Chinese medicine versus true Chinese medicine. Okay, when we hang on to the word traditional, right, we feel more secure. Right, I'm doing this because of this book, because of somebody else, because of my teacher, because of something, rather than because that's how I feel. Okay, so if you go this path, you're gonna. To me, it's like what we're doing is we're not following the tradition anymore. Tradition is just somebody else's first-hand experience, and somehow get written down, and somehow get passed down. Whether it's really useful or not, honestly, until we have this first-hand experience, we wouldn't know, right? Until we have somebody, right here, right now, and we're based on. To me, intuition means our perception of what's going on right now. That's intuition. Intuition is not imaginary. We have these five senses, but to me, we have far more than that. We have heart sense for sure. Okay, we have this, you pick up the phone, right before the phone rings, you think of somebody, and then the phone rings. So, oh my goodness, it's you, right? We have these heart resonance, right? And this comes from the heart pericardium channel, right? Pericardium, that's around the heart, right? That's both a transmitter and a receiver. Okay, so there are lots of things that we think. In 1950, right? This is where TCM was first developed, right? A lot of these things were suppressed. They're left out of all the texts that we're learning. Anything that's involved with energetic, spiritual, or channels, or something like that, they were left out. Why? Because at that time, it's like it can easily be used to fool people. Right? To say, I have supernatural ability and you guys are following me, and then all of a sudden you have a cult of millions and millions of people. Right? So that was, so I can understand why in Dr. JJ, in her, Tracking the Dragon, she's very, she doesn't like the communist China, right? But to me it's like that's something I can understand. Okay, at that time, with the complete lack of, technology or education and communication, somebody somewhere with this supernatural ability, that is not a good thing, from that standpoint. But time has changed. Okay, we have Wi-Fi now. Okay, so a lot of things are easily understood. We have cell phone now. Can you see the Wi-Fi? How does Wi-Fi work? Can you see it? Right? So before it's like, okay, you can't see channels, but can you feel it? Absolutely. Right? Now it's a lot easier for us to express this, to share this, and for people to accept this, or at least to try it, right? Because we have Wi-Fi, right? Yeah. So the road ahead is, so when I was in intern rounds, intern rounds with Canito, right? Lots of classes, clinic, I don't needle, right? Because I was asked to needle, especially needle liver 3. I would just say I can't needle that. To me, I'll be doing a disservice to my patients, right? I'm gonna not listening to my heart, and that wasn't acceptable to me. Right? So I expressed this to the teacher. I actually wrote him tons of emails, basically pleading him because to take a look, right? But he wasn't ready to. Okay, and I've treated quite a few professors downstairs in sort of emergency situation using channels, and they all got better within 10, 15 minutes. But are they willing to give channels any credit? No. Okay, because they have their position to hold, and I can understand that. Okay, so this is the primary reason I want to teach this class, and there's no prerequisite. I want to, I really want people like Gloria. Okay, and there's not even in the school. Okay, but if you're first, second semester, or early semesters. Or late semesters where you are very, very frustrated for, throughout this whole time, right? Hopefully this resonates with you. And if it resonates, keep going, okay? This is self-cultivation. This is more than, honestly, this is not about treating our patients. This is about developing ourselves, cultivating ourselves to the nth degree, to the highest degree that we can achieve, okay? Because all the treatments is not going to be based on protocol. It's not going to be based on what we do. It's going to be based on who we are. Okay, we all have this experience. It's like, okay, you can needle like this, and there's results. I needle, it doesn't do anything, right? Why? Because I have fear. I have doubt, right? My energy is not there. My intention is not correct, right? There are lots and lots of factors, and that keyword is cultivation. It's not. I was just actually having a conversation, a chat with a few of my, classmates back in 3-4 years ago. At that time, they were like, a group of them were going to, were learning Tui Na from somebody came from Taiwan. Very famous person in Taiwan who does a lot of manipulation, bone setting, and right? And they were charging like $3,000, $2,000 per weekend, just for that class. And they have to keep it a secret. Whatever they learn, they cannot share it with anybody, okay? If they did, they're not allowed to take further classes, pay further money to learn more, okay? So at that time, I only asked like one question. It's like, and I asked is like, does this teacher teach you guys how to stand? Okay, they look at me like I was crazy. So of course not. He's teaching us how to manipulate the neck and the shoulders and, whatever fascia lines and stuff like that, right? And when I heard that answer, asked several people, right? And all got, no, it doesn't teach us how to stand or correct us how to, our posture, right? Then I know this is going to be useless. And 3-4 years later, most of them has abandoned entirely what they have learned, okay? Because all they learned was techniques. Techniques without cultivation is useless. It's complete. I guarantee you, it's completely useless. Okay, because we will not be able to duplicate anybody's technique. The only thing we can, truly learn is how they stand, how they relax, and how they think. Right? That's why I was spending so much time sharing with you guys my core beliefs. Right? And I really hope those resonate with you, and you will, somehow integrate it into your own beliefs, right? It can be the same as mine, but it's going to be yours, right? Yeah. So if we continue to go this route, okay, and I know this class actually, right now we have groups of people, right? You guys are very tight together, and I really, to me, it's really, really good to see, okay? Because when I was in school, I'm basically the only person in the entire campus that do channels work, okay. So I get in conflict with teachers. I get in conflict with students. I get yelled at by people. It's like, who do you think you are, John? What are you doing? Just needle these points. What are you doing? I said, I can't. Okay. Instead, I focus on my cultivation. Right. When I don't needle, it doesn't mean I'm not learning. I'm not observing. I'm not sensing. Right. I'm not postulating. I'm not considering. Right. In my mind, I am treating constantly. Okay. And in these classes or in these clinics, oftentimes, like I will ask, it's like, okay, after we remove the needle, can I spend 5 minutes with the patient? Can I train out the person for 5 minutes? And that, honestly, that's my request, right? And I was able to do that, right? And it becomes a very interesting thing, right? It's like every patient we see, whether we're going to touch them, whether we're going to talk to them, or, it can be in a theater, right? Where, there's one teacher here, one patient here, right? And all you do is, sitting down there, right? And connect to that person. This is what we're talking about, right? Room 1, purposing our heart, right? Third eye is loving kindness, and just connect to that patient. Feel that patient. Right? And we're going to have tremendous amount of senses. We're going to develop tremendous amount just because we're doing that. Okay? So in that way, we're treating, it's almost like we're sensing and we're treating all the time. And because we have this connection, we're not going to use sympathy. We're not going to get hurt. Okay? None of us is going to get hurt or become wounded healers. Okay? Why? Because we're connecting this way. Not because we're trying to protect ourselves. Not because we have this tremendous Qigong teacher that teaches this unbelievable small heaven circles, okay? So I hope everybody's reading my posts on the Google Classroom, right? If you haven't, then please do. So a lot of these things I don't want to take class time to explain, but these are very, very important stuff, okay? Like the small heaven circle, okay, where the practice is essentially the dew coming up, right, and then the rain going down, right, and then become a circle. Honestly, that is not good for our channels. Okay,
I wondered about that because in all of our maps, the channels, it goes up in both directions. So thank you for explaining.
Yeah, thank you. But if we consider, if you really want to do this, actually, sometimes I do it. Okay. When I just sit down and sort of center myself, sometimes I do that, right? Because we are a tube, okay? We're like single cell tube, okay? A single cell organism is essentially a tube. And it has 2 channels, ren and du. And if you vary the frequency and vary the strength, you can wiggle, you can move, right? So consider that, right? So the ren channel and the du channel, they kind of go, if this is the center, if this is the tube, right? Essentially the ren channel goes like this, okay? And the du channel kind of goes like that, okay? So you can imagine that as well. So you can have both ren channel and du channel come up, right? And then both go down inside, right? And then come, and you can do that too, okay? So all these Qigong techniques, right? Small heaven circles or large heaven circles, there are various kinds, okay? You can do right to left, and all these are practices, okay? These are for Taoists when they practice, right? They spend a long time and they honestly, to me, okay, the Taoist people are amazing. Okay, channels are most likely developed by these people because they were able to do these Qigong exercises in other tranquility and peace, right, and sensitivity, right. They were able to detect how their channel work. Isn't that to me? It's really amazing work. Okay. If we see these channels and how they match and how they describe it, and it's just amazing to me, right? But all these are practices, and to me, we're not qualified to do these things. Very few people are qualified to do these things, right? They sound amazing, right? But if we just say, okay, I'm going to practice this, and I'm going to go down in the clinic to medical Qigong, treatment of other people, to me, we're kidding ourselves, okay? These takes years and years, and it takes very, very special training and lineage teachers, and to get to a certain point. Okay? These are not something that we should take lightly. We can do it. I'm just saying that don't take it as like, okay, I take one class, now I'm qualified to do something like that. Okay? It's very, very difficult to do that. It does take cultivation. Again, the cultivation is the key. Right? If you continue this path, to me, I'm being rewarded all the time, right? I have this tremendous sense of gratitude, okay? Because it seems like every person that I meet, yesterday I have a cancer patient coming in, right? Tremendous pain. She couldn't lift her arm, right? But at the end, it was like, oh my goodness, so much better, right? And we all made a wrong assumption in the beginning, because she came in and said, okay, the doctor said, the worst thing that can happen is the lymph drainage blockage. And she figured that was that. And I figured that was that as well. So I actually give her a little ball and ask her to squeeze, right? And do this up and down, right? Just to pump the lymph fluid a little bit better, right? She actually felt better that way. But that was the wrong diagnosis, right? Until I feel her. Okay, so she has no pain on the yang side, okay, which is the outside. Okay, but she has tremendous pain right around this line. Okay, basically from here all the way to the armpit. Okay, and I was like, and finally I got to feel it, and just the lightest touch, she was and finally I was able to find it, and I can feel if I just stroke this a little bit, I can feel like this wire inside. And at first, I couldn't figure out what it is. Okay, this wire basically goes from the armpit all the way down here. I couldn't figure out what it is. I thought it was nerve. I thought it was some kind of a tendon and da. At the end, I thought it was just part of the muscle bundle. I think during the surgery, because the surgery was actually, there's a cut here, 3 lymph nodes were removed. Okay, I think during the surgery, part of the muscle bundle, the muscle is actually a whole bunch of things bundled together. They have these little strains, right? More little strains, and eventually they get bundled into this fascia, and then you see then we name it, right? Like bicep muscle, right? Bicep muscle is actually a strain of a lot of things. I think one of the strain, something was popped out. It was very, very tight. Right, so my final, after a while, right, the final diagnosis was it's a muscle issue. Okay, and the muscle issue then it's simple, right? So what we do was we do this, right? Her wound actually was just 3 weeks, so it wasn't completely healed. Okay, so we're going to wait for this, but at the same time we're going to stretch out this part. Okay, just by stretching this out, we're actually stretching out this muscle here. So at the end, she was actually like, oh my goodness, I can move. Okay, and it wasn't like dramatic pain, right? Very, very important. So speaking of cultivation, okay, one thing we got to do, I think another post that I have is this lady, she's a jewelry designer, right? So every time she focus, doing her own creation, she will basically be sitting like this, okay? Hopefully this doesn't collapse. Okay, so she has a higher chair that has a bar, so her feet will be on the bar. Okay, and she'll be leaning. Okay, so she'll be engaging the hip flexor. Okay, she will actually be pulling her leg up. Okay, so what happens is she blocks her channels. Okay. So when we're in severe fight and flight, okay, the channel, so we learn in school, if you haven't, you will, this divergent channel is real, okay? It's called bladder channel, the first divergent channel is the bladder divergence, okay? So the bladder channel is supposed to go from intang, okay, through the side of the head, right, go down the back, the buttock, okay, back the knee, and all the way down to basically the little toe, okay? When we're in fight and flight, okay, this thing doesn't go down to the toes. It goes from here, okay, the same path, go down to the knee, okay, and then come back up to the kidney channel. Okay, and because of that, the strength of the kidney channel is stronger. Okay, so in the text or in the things that we're going to learn, or we're hopefully, maybe we learned that already, is in the first diversion, the UB channel goes down to knee, right, up the kidney as a stronger force and strike the heart. Okay, what it does is, generate more adrenaline. Isn't that cool? Right? So all this makes sense, right? So when you have a stronger, the kidney basically is adrenaline, right? So you strike the kidney, strike the heart, so the heart rate start to go faster, right? And you have the adrenaline going, right? Then all of a sudden you're in fight and flight. Can we artificially make that happen? Absolutely, right? By sitting like that. So everybody, okay, and I got all this just so because I can see everybody's feet, okay? Like Gloria, when she was sitting earlier, she was going like this. Okay? She was locking herself up. Okay, so that's a focus. That's almost like I want to focus, right? So you, boom, right? It's like my patient, jewelry designer, when she want to focus on herself because she needs to have a very steady left hand and very strong right hand, right? To do all her jewelry making, she, without knowing what she was doing channel-wise, right, and channel mode-wise, she's like, okay, I'm going to block my energy from going down, below my knees, right? And then she's more focused, right? Can we do that? Yes. But we do this with a sense of delight, with a sense of fun, and with a sense of mindfulness. It's like, okay, I need more energy up here. I'm going to lock myself. Okay. So in a sense, maybe that's why Wing Chun has this horse stand, right? It's like, right? Then my upper body is far more energetic, right? So when you're in class, right, be mindful. Okay, cultivation goes everywhere. Okay, when we try to cultivate ourselves, we're actually mindful of how we stand. Ren Wan, purpose in the heart, right? Yin Tang to loving kindness. Every night, I actually woke up. Last night, I woke up four times, and finally at 7, it's like, okay, I'm not going back to bed. Okay, my mom wakes up like every 90 minutes or so. Okay, and last night was more interesting. It's like close to an hour. So every time I get up, okay, so I have this motion detector. Okay, every time she gets up, I hear this ding dong, ding dong. As she moves more, the ding dong goes faster and faster. Okay. When I first got up, it's like honestly, I'm very woozy. Okay. So after like 1 or 2 steps, that's what I do. I elevate my Ren Wan, purpose in my heart. Okay. This is my choice. Right. There's a reason why I'm doing this. I don't completely know the reason. Okay. But I'm fortunate, I'm grateful to be able to do this. Right? Then I connect to loving kindness. Then I connect to my mom. Then I go to her. Right? So use this. Okay, this is not something that we just resonate. Right? We can do this all the time. Okay, this does not interfere with anything that we do. It will complement it. It will make it so much better, okay? Yeah. And when we are mindful of, Ren Wan, purpose, connection to loving kindness, right? When we see our patients, we have very little, honestly, we have no fear. We can make mistakes. We can goof up. We can say, you know what? That was the wrong diagnosis. And I can say that, and the person will not feel, because I don't feel I did anything wrong. We're working together to find a solution, right? And what's this little, mishaps or something like that, right? Or misdiagnosis or wrong assumptions, and it's all okay, right? So we talk about this prepare versus ready, right? To prepare is like I need to know precisely. I cannot make a mistake, right? Versus ready, it's like let's try this. Oh, that is dumb, right? And then we try this, and we try this, right? And make it light, make it fun, and to me, that's my reward, okay? And for my patients, they feel empowered. They everybody come to a doctor, as if they come into authority, right? And to me, honestly, I don't want that role at all. Okay, it's your sickness. You know this better than I do. Okay, we're just here to find a potential solution, right? But you know better than anybody else in this world, right? Why and how severe for example, your migraine is, right? Since when, right? Under what condition, right? Does it kind of in line with your menstruation, right? Does it in line with how you feel about your husband, about your kids, right? All these, only you will know. I wouldn't know, right? Yeah. If we continue this path, the more you will see, like I'm seeing, right? It took me 4 years, 5 years, but people are coming together, okay? And I honestly expect more and more of us is going to come together and surface, okay? COVID-19 is going to provide us with a beautiful platform to share this with even wider, okay? And let me tell you my plan. And if I can get a kind of a vote from this class, maybe we can get that going with the student council and maybe with the school. Okay, so we have this 4 weeks of COVID-19 in-house, basically, right? Just open to 5 branches, COVID-19 treatment. Okay, so after 4 weeks, I think we're very familiar with it. Okay, and we want to get our hands on more people, right? So my proposal will be to continue it, okay, but instead of from 12:30 to 1, we're going to go from 12 to 1, okay. It'll be more open to the community, like church groups or temple groups and community groups, schools, teachers, and however you want to do this, right? We want to more open to acupuncturists nearby, medical professionals nearby, right? We want to make us famous, okay. We want to make us like credible and everything else, right? And now we have credibility, right? This treatment is actually approved by a division of NIH, the complementary whatever, NCC something, complementary medicine, and JJ is actually seeking approval from CDC and FDA. Okay, so this is going to be very, very, it's legit, but government legit, right? So I think it will be good for us, right? Good for the patients, right? I think it will be very, very good for the school, right? So if you think this is, and I understand, our class goes, to 12:30, right? So essentially we're going to use from 12 to 12:30 as almost like a lab, right? Where we get to work with each other and get to work with people that we don't even know, right? So what we're going to get is we're going to see more people. We're going to see far more pre-existing conditions. We're going to feel, for example, a frozen shoulder, right? A very, very stiff neck, somebody with a broken tailbone, for example, okay, that severely disrupt their DO channel, right? So when they get COVID-19, it's like they can't get rid of it, right? So if you think this is a reasonable idea, or if you don't, right, you can write me or something like that. But if it's okay, let me see a show of hands. Will you guys be willing to do this? Okay, great. You're not? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'll write a proposal, okay, because this does involve cooperation with the 5 branches, school-wise, right? This is more than just me. More than just student council, right? We'll probably get 5 branches to do something as well, which hasn't been easy, but we'll see how it goes this time. Okay. To me, doing this, the most rewarding experience is. It's almost like a constant flow of gratitude. This constant flow of curiosity. Because everything is interesting. Everything has its own purpose now, right? So every person I see, get to interact with, every mistake I get to make, right? Every time I make myself a fool, right? I actually feel very, very, it's very interesting. Okay, I just have this inner smile. Okay, so to me, this is instead of this fear, right? I talk to quite a few acupuncturists after they graduate, right? After they try to survive and make a business out of it, and they have a lot of fear. They want more patients. They're trying to settle down on a treatment, direction, right? They're using this and it doesn't work. They're using that, it doesn't work, right? They continue to find ways to do things, right? But all they're learning to me is just very, very surface. They're trying to match a treatment with a symptom, signs and symptom. Very, very difficult that way, okay? So when we use channels, we're going to link things together, right? We're going to make so many problems non-problems. Okay, and to me, that's the real benefit of all this, right? It's like my jewelry patient, right? She come in honestly with, it's just a whole list of things, right? And at the end, it's just like your hip flexor, okay? And get her to stretch like this, right? To really be mindful of how she sits, the two sit bones, and if you have to do this, it's fine, right? But after that, go back to your parasympathetic mode, right? And enjoy life, enjoy your creation. And all her symptoms, honestly, she came in like, she went out is like perfectly fine. Okay, so in my clinic, most of the things we'll go back to that diagram. It's, and honestly, if you can, right, just scratch it. Find a scratch paper and just draw that diagram a few times. Okay, put channels in the middle, right? Emotions and physicals and stuff like that, right? And the more, to me, that's what an opera doctor would do. You are seeing the entire person, right? You're seeing every aspect that can potentially affect channels. And when you see that, you don't go, I know how to treat that symptom. I learned that in class, right? Then we lose ourselves. Okay. Actually, when I was an engineer, I had the same feeling. It's like most engineers, they just want to solve problems. Okay, but is it really a problem in the first place? So a lot of times they would solve problems, they would spend time, and then they have to, redo it or undo a lot of things. Right? I tend to focus on what's the problem. Is it really a problem, right? Or I will actually examine my definition of a problem, right? For example, my definition of healing is the connection to loving kindness. So illness is not even part of healing. It can be a sub-part of healing, but it's not the primary goal for healing, right? So under that, I can solve the higher issue. Like, I think I shared something like this as well. The 70-year-old guy, right? 75, 70 plus, very successful. Okay, hip injury, lots of injuries. Okay, open heart surgery. Right. At the end, what we're doing is like he was able to connect to his estranged daughter. Via loving kindness. The daughter still hasn't talked to him yet, right? But he's okay with that. Okay, and to him, that's freedom. Okay, and because of that, he gets off. So all we're doing is to say, okay, if this is in the middle, where parasympathetic and sympathetic mode work perfectly, okay, how it's supposed to be. Okay, we're always like, sympathetic mode and parasympathetic mode are not like, either you're in this or not in this. No, it's a spectrum. Okay, it's like on the far end, this is parasympathetic. Okay, where we can be in a cave, sit down, right, completely aligned, centered, and we can be there for 1,000 years. Okay. I mean, in Chinese, there's like this this turtle breathing something, right? That you can last for a long time, and that's essentially what it is. It's like pure, or as pure as it gets, parasympathetic mode. Okay, on the other spectrum is high sympathetic fight or flight, right? So this is a spectrum, right? So by able to say, okay, I'm connecting to my daughter, for example, right, who I had a lot of love, but also have a lot of pain, a lot of regret, a lot of shame, a lot of these mixed emotions, a lot of sense of righteousness, right and wrong. I did all this for you, and you're so ungrateful, and so there's a whole lot of mixed things, right? So we tend to stay more on the sympathetic fight and flight, right? So what we did was actually to shift, all of this back to more the parasympathetic mode. Right? And all of a sudden his blood pressure, it's just the whole function just greatly improved. Digestion, elimination, rigidity especially. When he first came in, he was so rigid. And now he's like this. It's like, oh my goodness. Yeah. And when we cultivate like this, right, there's, because what we're doing is we're mindful of our channels, and we see this as our first priority. Okay, the very, very first priority. We all learn this, right? We all hear this. Okay, if the plane is losing, whatever pressure, cabin pressure, grab the mask first before you do anything, right? Because otherwise you pass out, right? And these Ren channel and the Du channel are our oxygen mask. Keep it on all the time. Okay, don't lose it. And all it takes is a thought, right? It's like, I'm aligned, I'm aligned with the universe. This actually, I shorten it to be like, I just look up and there it is, okay? So when we do this, we are optimizing the midbrain flow. And with the midbrain flow, okay, so to me, okay, there is always, again, this is sympathetic and parasympathetic, right? So when our midbrain flows, we're more in the parasympathetic mode. We're rest and easy, okay? We're rest and heal, okay? Our midbrains are flowing. So naturally, our gallbladder channel and our UB channels are not as strong, not as dominant, okay? But when we are in higher level of fight and flight, gallbladder channel and bladder channels dominate, okay? That's why, we need that. Right? This is beautifully designed, right? So if I'm in danger, I need to be alert. I cannot go like, wow, this is beautiful, right? It doesn't, so we have to make quick decisions, right? We need to be hypersensitive. So all that makes sense, right? But when we are more aligned with the universe, right? We're more aligned, Ren 1, purpose, connection to loving kindness, and connect to the world, right? We energize our midbrain, and all of a sudden we have clarity. We're going to have a lot of clarity. Okay, this will happen in the clinic. This will happen in the classroom. This will happen just, when you brush your teeth. Clarity will come in. Okay, a lot of the things that we are what they call the ruminating, right? It just doesn't go away. We just keep. I have this problem. I don't know how to solve it. For years and decades or something like that. All of a sudden, there's clarity. It's like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. And why? Don't know. Just come out of nowhere. But it's so crystal clear. Okay? You're going to have far more moments or chances to have epiphanies. Where not only do you understand, you feel. Okay? We don't, it's like, we talk about this, right? Compassion cannot be understood. Loving kindness cannot be understood, right? We can see these words, unconditional love. What does it mean to us? We don't know. There's a huge disconnect because it's in between the brain and the heart, right? But we will have moments where we experience unconditional love, and we know precisely what it is. Okay? Can we explain to other people? We can't, because there is no words for it. These things cannot be expressed, explained, learned. Okay, that's why I say knowledge is very, very limited. Okay, everything is about first-hand experience. So what we're doing when we have this mindset of running my channel well, and this is my choice, nobody can take this away from me. And to me, this is what, again, I'm not religious in that sense. Okay, this is what Jesus Christ on the cross does. This is what he did. He still has a choice, he continued to love all the disciples and all the Roman soldiers with the swords and spears. Why? Because it's his choice. So at that moment, he has no trauma, right? There's nothing, nobody to forgive, forget, and we just have good karma, right? We have karma, and we're here, and you're seeing me, and I'm up here, right? I'm just going to continue to love because his choice. Okay, so honestly, in my clinic, that's the biggest word, choice. Okay. You will find most people, and I would say all patients, they feel they have no choice. Cancer patients, do they feel they have a choice? No, not at all, right? Chronic illness patients, COVID-19 patients, they just feel they have no choice, right? So part of the COVID-19 treatment was you imagine, right, this flow of beautiful energy or this light or this, your sense of love, your connection to, your loved ones and it's all their choice, right? Choice to me is the biggest thing that's being taken away from most of us. From, for example, mandatory education. You got to be in there. You got to do what everybody else is doing. Right? The implication is we have no choice. We listen. We follow. Right? Yeah. So hopefully we continue this path. Okay. And to me, this, hopefully I have another 30 years, and this will be my life's mission. Okay. And we need people. Okay. How many people do we need? I don't know, right? But I do know at some point we're going to reach a tipping point, right? And all of a sudden channel is not being frowned upon, right? Being ridiculed or like, yeah, right? Because it's not protocol driven, right? It's heart-based, and this world needs heart-based people, right? And I believe all seekers are, right? And I think that's why we're here, okay? So with that, I'm going to switch gear, okay? So the key thing, okay, we need to understand is liver qi stagnation, okay? So I have a list of symptoms that's related to liver qi stagnation, okay? You don't have to, it's all, in our classroom, okay? Menstruation issue, digestion, elimination, breathing, dampness, sleep, hypertension, tumor, cancer, BPH, okay, like the prostate hyperplasia, PCOS, okay, the growing of stuff, right? Posture, frozen shoulders, knee, hip problems, depression, anxiety, being so nice, restless, needy, helpy, which means I'm helping people all the time, okay? Bipolar, PTSD, OCD, cycles of being grandiose or insignificant, socials, all of a sudden I'm very social, I want to, be with everybody, and then, the next thing I want is in complete isolation, okay? Anger, eruptions, and, the whole 9 yards, okay? All these, liver qi stagnation. In various degrees of liver qi stagnation, okay? And you would think, to me, honestly, the hardest people to treat are the nice people, okay? Because first thing is they're always doing the right thing. They're always doing things for other people. They always suppress themselves, okay? They have no boundary, okay? So before we talk about liver qi stagnation, I want to talk about emotions, okay? So we have these channels, right? And they can have 4 modes, right? And emotional issue can affect our channels, okay? And I only, in my clinic, I only do 2 emotions. Okay? There are a whole bunch of emotions, sadness, regret, shame, and right? To me, all these are manifestations of two of our primary emotions, okay, which is anger and fear. Okay. Why do we have all these emotions? Emotions is emotion, okay? It enables motion so that we react to what's going on at the moment. At the moment, okay? That's what emotions are for. It's a very time-limited event. It's supposed to be that way, okay? My mom, or little kids, right? Either little kids or mom, or my mom, close to 90, she started to lose a lot of her control, okay? Her so-called emotional control. Like little kids, they express, and and you feel like, oh my goodness, how can you do this? But they change. How do they change? Right? Because emotions are expressive, or it's a message. Okay, it's like a text we receive and we go, oh, okay, boom, and then it's done. The next moment can be a completely different message. Okay, but because we're human and we have the ability to control, right, and because we're educated, right, we need to be logical, sensible, nice and everything else, the whole 9 yards, right? We learn to control our emotions. We learn to say, no, this is the wrong message that's sent to me. Okay, I'm going to suppress it. I'm going to ignore it. Okay? So emotions, anger and fear can be represented like a dog. Okay, so I got this most loyal guard dog right next to me all the time, 24/7. It never stops. Okay, that's what anger and fears are. So when we sleep soundly at night, right, all of a sudden there's like these sounds, we wake up. Because the anger and fear are always present. You cannot turn it off. Okay? The only thing we can do is to suppress it to the nth degree. Okay, and people who are nice people, right? People who feel like they have to conform to other people's expectations, or, when they were young, they were, life is chaos, right? And they were abused, suppressed, and everything else. And every time they express this, no, I don't want this, okay, it comes in even stronger. So they learn from a body and from we have this, memory A and B, right? So, the subconscious knows, like, okay, when anger comes up, kill it, okay? Because otherwise you're going to get more and more, okay? You're going to suffer more. Kill it, okay? But when we have no anger and no fear, okay, we lose that guard dog. So our boundary is going to contract. We're not going to feel safe. Having a good guard dog means this is my yard. Okay, that dogs are amazing. Okay, they can have a postman, a mailman. Okay, come in. Right. Let's say these are the boundaries of my neighbor and my house. My house is right in the center. Right. The mailman is here. No barking. One step further. Wham, 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 wham. Right. It knows the boundary, and that's exactly what our anger and fears are. It knows where our boundary is. But when it's suppressed, it doesn't know its boundary is anymore. So that's what the nice people do. Okay, nice people have very little boundary, and because they don't express, they don't honor their boundary. People don't know where their boundary is at all. It's like you're in this workplace and you're giving these it's like can you work a little bit overtime tonight? Oh, absolutely. I have nothing to do at home anyway. I don't want to go home, So work overnight, right? Or overtime. And then you're not happy with that. But you continue to suppress. So people say, oh, really? Oh, okay. Okay. And the next time it becomes, here we go again. And then 3 more times, it's almost like a given. So you can work overtime and you don't mind. And you continue to smile until one day, that's it. You quit. And people are like, what's going on? I say, you guys just keep taking advantage of me, just nonstop. It's like, what? Right? So my daughter, I'm not sure if I put that on. No, I haven't. So she wrote an essay, and the title is called "The Lost Buddha Bees." Okay, I'll share that link. Okay, it's a YouTube video. Okay, so essentially, it's her transformation from not knowing where her boundary is to have a better sense of her boundary, to be able to honor her boundary. Okay, so when we hear the word anger, we don't want it. Okay, because ever since we're very little, it's like, don't be angry. Angry doesn't solve anything. Angry and anger are 2 different things. Anger means, no, I don't want this. Right? Angry is not a pure emotion. Angry itself is like attachment. It's a judgment. Okay, it's I hate you. You're doing this, and you're a bad person. And that's why this and this. Instead, we can just say no. To me, anger is just no. I don't want this. Okay. So anger is a pure emotion. Angry. Okay, this is how it works. Okay. Let's say I'm driving on the freeway, right? I'm minding my own business. The lanes are clear, no traffic, right? So I'm driving. It's all safe, right? So I have my boundary, right? However big my boundary is, right? And the car next to me come in a little bit. Automatically I do this, right? Then I restore my boundary by speeding up or slowing down. I restore my boundary. Then only then would I realize I was almost hit. Okay, this is the difference. Emotion-driven motion versus conscious-driven motion are 0.8 seconds apart. Okay? 0.8 seconds. That's eternity when you're driving 65 or 80 on the freeway and the car is coming in. Okay? Isn't that beautiful? I mean, this is our system, right? We have this system where it's an early warning system. It's driven by emotions, by fear and anger. When we establish our boundary, our guard dog is set, right? Guard dog, when we're driving, we know we have this boundary, right? Here's lanes, and here's space in front, here's space behind, right? When the other car comes in closer, right, to the edge of our boundary, inside our boundary is violated. Anger and fear. Fear gets us to be alert of where our boundary is. Anger arises when our boundary is impacted, is violated. Then we move. Then we make our motion. Right? So we move and we restore our boundary within that 0.8 seconds, right? After 0.8 seconds, the frontal cortex, the thinking brain, knows what just happened. And it goes, then we start to go into road rage. That's angry. That's what's going to hurt both parties. But if we use anger correctly, we maintain our boundary, we avoid this person may just be like, the wife just goes, you, right? Something, I don't know, right? But we avoid a potential catastrophic event. So anger and fear are always there to protect us. Okay, our educational system says otherwise. Okay, no fear. Be happy. Right? When we remove these 2 primary emotions, we are very fearful. Have you driven behind somebody whose boundary was so small, they don't know what to do with their driving? They're driving so slow, right? And they're tunnel vision, right? Because that's the only thing they can pay attention to, right? They're so fearful. So when our boundary, when we don't use our anger, what happens is our fear elevates. Okay? When anger and fear work together beautifully, right? We're very, it's like we have this natural protection, right? But we cannot show our anger. And you can see this in people, okay? Their sense of alertness or risk assessment are just high. Okay? So this is emotion, right? So when these are not in balance, liver qi stagnation. So liver qi stagnation, to me, continue to point to an imbalance between anger and fear. Okay. So I work with, when I was in clinic, I asked for the most angry people, okay, or the patients with the most anger. Okay, they will actually say, "Oh, you are hurting me," or "Your needling is, do you know how to needle?" or something like that. Okay. So I asked the front desk, "Can I please have these patients?" Right? Because they can express their anger. Right? So when we don't have a good boundary, there are basically two ways to do this. Right? It's like my castle is broken. Okay, I'm supposed to have these natural building, natural boundary. Right? But all these things are broken. My castle is in disarray. Right? There are two ways to do this, right? One is to say, just come in and take whatever you want and just leave, please. Right? I'm very submissive. Or I'm very aggressive. I have my spears and I have my shouts and hot water, and it's like, you come closer, right? So there are two kinds of people, right? The ones who are ready to express, to me, are so much easier to direct, to go on the healing path. Because even though it's misdirected, but at least they have that energy. Okay, their suppression is not to the degree where you really have to dig it out. Okay, interesting, right? So you see, angry person, right? If you connect to their heart of gold, right? You smile. You don't react to. You become a lighthouse. You don't react to their outbursts or their complaints or whatever, their sense of injustice, right? They change really quickly. Okay, so for people who have PTSD in general, they are more like that. Okay, injustice, huge amount of injustice, which feel they're angry, their anger. Okay, so you see them as outwardly just don't trust people. Government is this, society is this, rich people are like that, and da. I mean, they just point fingers everywhere, okay? But one thing I actually, and they tend to get into road rage very, very easily, okay? So what I found very, very useful was to say, okay, what's your intention and what's your action? I only ask them to consider these two things. What's your intention when you drive, for example? And what's your action? Okay, is your action in line with your intention, or are they opposite? When you get into a road rage, are you going in line with your intention or going the opposite way? Okay, they change actually really quick. Okay, a lot of PTSD patients are, to me at least, okay, because I at one time I have this PTSD clinic, and I got veterans, I got police officers, I got. Actually, I have a mailman as well. But anyway, they're rule followers. They follow rules. Okay, and people who follow rules are very, in one sense, tend to be because they follow rules, so they can see how other people don't follow rules, or it's not consistent, right? But once I say, okay, the only rule you have to follow is to check your action with your intention. What's your intention? Your intention is to go home, go home to your wife and kids, safe and sound. Make sure your actions are in line with that, right? Because otherwise they get into road rage all the time. Okay. So with people who are suppressed, for example, they are just hypothetical. Okay, let's say they're sexually abused or molested. Okay, but they kept it as a secret. Okay, So there's a sense of control. Like I have a secret that I cannot share. I cannot tell my parents. I cannot tell my friends. I can't tell anybody. Okay. So it's a constant suppression. Okay. So the sense that I need to express, I need to thrive through this, right? They don't have it. They're control. Okay. To the point where they're just, it's very hard to detect their anger. Okay. So for patients like that, my standard recommendation is to please, go into your car. Okay. When you're driving, just express, I have a purpose. Okay, just keep this. I have a purpose. I have a purpose. I have a purpose. Shout this at the top of your lung. Curse if you feel like it. Okay, you got to get your anger back, and then you go like, from this point on, I'm going to respect my anger. Anger is our liver channel. Okay, when we are thriving, when we are courageous, when we stand up for our own belief, we have anger. Okay, we have tremendous amount of anger, but this anger is our boundary. We're not using this anger to attack people. We're using this anger to say, this is my boundary. This is my belief. This is what I want to do. This is my space to thrive. And you cannot take this away from me. Okay, and this comes from our tremendous sense of purpose. Right? I have a purpose. I may be the smallest blade of grass in a giant sequoia tree, but I have as much right to thrive as anybody else. You cannot take this away from me. Okay? So hold on to that, okay? Honestly, what I shared with you today, if you use it in the clinic, you change people's life. Not because you change it, but because you're sharing something to empower them. Right? So if it resonates with them, they're gonna grab it. They're gonna thrive. The difference between survive and thrive. Okay, it's like this entire society is set up so that all of us are surviving. Okay, so what we're doing is to change that. Right, add the ingredients of choice. Right, and the resonance of, oh my goodness, anger is my biggest ally. I need anger. I need to honor my anger. I need to listen to it. Okay? It's like, when I listen to it, do I have to follow it? No. The choice is still ours. It's still our hearts, right? Emotions, anger or fear are just messages, right? Like the dog barking, right? All we got to do is to say, let me take a look. I know something is in our boundary, or maybe in our boundary. Let me take a look. It's just Uncle Bob. No worry. Okay. Or mailman Mark, something like that, right? Then the dog automatically goes down. So when I work with people with trauma, with all the years, decades, or maybe even lifetimes of suppression, of emotional suppression, what I found was within seconds, and I think I mentioned this, within let's say minute, okay, within a minute, all these emotions are just gone. They were very, very surprised. It's like, where did it go? Right? All emotions want to do is to go to the present time, to say, there's something going on here. Can you pay attention? As long as we do, the message has served its purpose. Okay? Then it can go on with the next purpose. It can go on with its job. Okay? Yeah. So can you imagine we have the world's most loyal guard dog, and every time it barks, we just kick it and yell at it and lock it somewhere, chain it, right? No, work with it, honor it. We really have the most beautiful. It's not a defense system. Okay, it's how we interact with everybody else. Okay, to me, the most beautiful society is like we can all walk down the street and nobody's bumping each other because we all are honoring our boundary. Okay, that's how it's supposed to be. Okay. So with this understanding, right, with this, if this resonates with you, can you see how suppressing this can cause menstruation issues, digestion, elimination, breathing, dampness, sleep, hypertension? It's all part of the package. Okay. So this is what I do in the clinic, right? And this honestly is my first-hand experience. And this is so rewarding because all these problems, when they show up in my clinic, I don't see these. Right? I see this as a fundamental issue with imbalance. And this is just in the emotional realm, right? So, can it be caused by liver qi stagnation? Can it be caused by physical blockages? Absolutely, right? If our hip were broken, right? Or if I ride my motorcycle and I get into an accident where I scrape my entire right side, for example, and that's my gallbladder channel. Right? All of a sudden, my gallbladder channel has trouble going down, right? And if my gallbladder channel has trouble going down, my liver channel is going to have trouble coming back up, right? So again, I have liver qi issue, right? Or I have a broken arm, right? And somehow, or a burn right at the side of my arm, for example, right, where my lung channel is, and the liver needs to flow into the lung channel, right? And it couldn't, so it backs up. So there are all kinds of ways, even physically, for liver qi stagnation to happen, right? Or if I have this tremendous sense of injustice in this world, right? I sympathize with myself. I sympathize with a lot of people, right? Would I have liver qi stagnation? Absolutely. Okay. So anytime we cannot thrive, what happens is our heart, our pericardium channel locks up. So this is the mechanism for liver qi stagnation. Okay. So normally we thrive, right? But when we cannot thrive, how do we turn that off? How do we block out the liver, the free-flowing liver qi, so we are thriving, right? Is we lock up our pericardium channel. Okay. So pericardium channel is really the it's almost like the electronic switch. Okay, it's like when it's locked, nothing goes through. Okay, it causes disturbance. Okay, so pericardium channel locks up, then the liver qi, basically stuck here, and sometimes it's stuck further down and causes PCOS. Okay, because then it collides, and basically you have a flood here, right? You have a flood here, can potentially cause, or hyper growth of prostate or something like that. Okay.
What is PCOS?
Polycystic ovarian syndrome.
There you go.
Yeah. Thank you. I have no way of knowing what it is, but but it's a lot of things growing somewhere. Yeah, that's my description. Cool. So pericardium channel, right? So in the clinic, okay, so if we know, so do I tell my patients every time about what I just shared with you? No. Okay. What I do is I invoke pain. Okay. The pain is our best friend. Okay. As a practitioner, pain is our best friend. Pain, you can't argue with pain. Okay. Pain is the most convincing thing we can do in the clinic during a treatment. Okay? When you put a thumb here, right at PC1, okay, and you put a little bit of pressure in there, and they go, oh, how can it be so painful? Right? Then it's very easy to tell them you have liver. You're blocking your system. I don't normally use the term liver qi stagnation. Right? I'm just saying you're suppressing something. Okay. Or you're not connecting, you're wanting something but you don't want to connect to, right? You love your dad but at the same time you hate him. Or something like that, okay? And this pain because honestly, the pain like this are such a surprise and such a relief at the same time, okay? Because they're suffering, okay? Because of this pain, the shoulder comes in because we want to protect here, right? And their breathing are shallow, right? Shallow breathing induce dampness. Okay, and dampness causes so many issues. It's not funny. Okay, in the Chinese, in all the historic texts, dampness is the hardest thing to treat. Okay, but to me, honestly, dampness is very easy to treat when we understand why. Because this person is not breathing right. And why? Because there's pain right around here, right? And per Chinese medicine, honestly, when I was going through school, right, and the teacher's like, John, you're gonna go to jail. You're gonna get sued. You're gonna lose your license. You're gonna go to jail, right? And I was like, really? Wow. Can you imagine me in jail? Man, it's gonna be fun. All the inmates will have their liver, resolve their liver qi stagnation, right? Will have all their channels free flowing, right? All of a sudden, honestly, that's actually one of my dreams, I actually contact people, I actually share, when I was having live workshops, that's actually one of the things I talk about is like, if you can get me into jail in whatever capacity, even as an inmate, I'll be happy to. Okay, right now I can't because of my mom, but when I'm able to, I really want to get in touch. Okay, a lot of the violent inmates. Okay, one of the reasons. Okay, when stomach channel counterflow. Okay, this is beautiful. Okay, when we understand this, it's like, my goodness, channels are amazing. Okay, so stomach channel is supposed to go down, right? So easy digestion, absorption, and everything else, right? When it counterflows, that's when we're in fight and flight. Okay, when we're in severe fight and flight, where we have to protect ourselves, right? Or we have to curl up, or we have to do this. Okay, so if you look at a fighter, right, from the side, you will see like this fighter is actually fighting like this. Okay, it's actually curl up quite a bit, right, to fight like this. Wing Chun, on the other hand, we fight like this. Okay, Wing Chun does not engage the stomach channel as much. Interesting, right? You see, every other fight, they tend to curl up, chin down, and everything else. Right? The easiest way to do this is you counterflow your stomach channel. Boom! You automatically do this because that's a small. You basically get yourself into a Parkinson condition, okay, where you feel no pain. Okay, we'll talk more about that when we talk about pause. Okay, pause mode. I lost my train of thought.
You were saying when stomach normally goes.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Got it. Thank you so much. So we all learn this, okay, and hopefully, okay. If you haven't, that's okay. So stomach channel goes from intang, basically right here, or here, okay? It actually comes from here, okay? But stomach one and goes down here, and somehow it goes up and goes down. It's like, really? No. The normal stomach channel flow goes from here all the way down. Okay, water flows down. Okay, water doesn't go, crazy, right? UB channel doesn't go down to our knees and come back up and and then go down. Okay, it doesn't do that. Okay, UB channel is wide. Okay, so think of it as a river. Okay, all these things are cities along the river, and because they cannot, when you study cities, you have to put them in sequential form, right? You can't say these two cities are, But anyway, so and the gallbladder channel are even crazier, right? I mean, you study gallbladder channel, you're going to have liver qi stagnation because it's like what is it? How can this be, right? It's just this, like you brush your hair, okay? So, I don't have hair, but it's like I look great, That's what gallbladder channel is, okay? So you can study all this and number and and it's like okay, it's just really just that. So that's why when we really use channels the way it's supposed to be, there's no point. Okay, it's just river. Okay, when we understand river, we get a more understanding of cities. Okay, okay. So stomach channel. So why? So that point is actually very interesting. the existence of that, even the existence of that point, what does it mean? That means somebody at some point figured this out by personal experience or this understanding. So what they call it is this internal seeing, inner seeing. Okay, some Taoist, really, really high-level practitioners, they were able to see how things can flow differently within themselves or in other people. Amazing, honestly, this is truly amazing. Okay, why? Because the stomach channel normally goes down here, right? But when it counterflows, if it flows back up with the same path, it will go into the midbrain. It will kill us. It will make us mad. Okay, so in the textbook, in our school, okay, this is the TCM, the traditional TCM, right? Actually talks about this. People go crazy, right? They will actually go up the mountain, tear off their clothes, or they go on the street and then hack people. Okay, why? Because when their stomach channel go counterflow, some people get angry. They start to lose their mind. What's really happening is they are seriously losing their mind because their stomach channel comes up, goes into their midbrain. Okay, midbrain, you cannot counterflow because you're fighting with the Du channel, and this person is basically unconscious. Either this person loses consciousness, or this person is unconscious until he loses his consciousness. So my first PTSD patient, he was in the Marines. Okay, he's not very tall. He's about this tall, a little bit chubby. Okay, study all the martial art. Okay, he said when he was in the Marine has this unspoken thing where people can fight, and they can, just allow them to fight. Okay, he never loses. He will fight people that 6'6" and so much heavier and everything else. He doesn't go down. Okay, when he fights, he's unconscious. So when I work with him, and so one time it's like I see this little dent here, okay, right here, okay, and say, what's going on here, right? Oh, he said, when I was 16, I was working on a tire, and the tire iron kind of bounced back and hit me right here, okay. That's why I know. Then I needle through that. Actually, his Du channel was able to go down, okay. So the stomach channel, when it counterflows, it cannot flow into the Du channel. If it does, the person is going to do violent things without conscious. Okay, it's like I just want to hack this person. Okay, so instead, it actually goes to stomach 8. Isn't that beautiful? Right? It counterflows up here. It comes in this point. Whew, stomach 8. See, nice and straight, right? That makes sense. The rivers the water go the straightest way, right? Go to stomach 8, right? And whoosh, it goes down to UB or gallbladder. And what it does is the stomach channel that comes up actually strengthens our entire defense system. Isn't it? I mean, that's to me when I read that, and again, it's in that book, right? It's unbelievable. We have all these fail-safe mechanisms that protect us and not kill us at the same time. So let's say if I go to the prison, right, and I see, people who did unthinkable things when they lose their conscious. Okay, this PTSD, he's actually a good friend of mine, study Wing Chun as well. He will actually fight, and he will actually lose consciousness. He will actually fight, and then he basically will feel like he doesn't even remember what happened. Occasionally he will actually lose consciousness himself. Okay, so this path. So I have one patient. She came in a couple of times, I think. Her brother beat her to. She suffered like head trauma, okay, because her brother, who she was very close with, beat her, okay, over some very, very small things. Okay, so then I asked a little bit, right? So the brother actually had a car accident or something like that where he smashed his face right on the steering wheel or something like that, right? And had a face reconstruction, and the scar goes around. So stomach A was blocked. Okay. So when they had that little argument, the brother actually honestly just beat her. Okay, like his face was, nose was broken, jaw was off, right? Beat her into concussion, and almost died because he couldn't stop. That's what happened when the stomach channel doesn't go properly to stomach, to stomach gate, and because then you lose conscious. Okay, you're not conscious. Okay, interesting, right? You may see people like that. Okay, normally they are very, very in control of their emotions. They want to control. I do not make me angry, please. They kind of know their trigger, okay, because they know once they reach that point, they have no control of themselves. Interesting, right? Yeah. So are these like psychological issues or channel issues? Or are all psychological issues channel issues? Yeah, please.
It's actually interesting you bring that up because my husband's mom had kidney surgery, and he was saying like after the surgery, like she wasn't the same person. Like her behavior or like her reasoning, her emotional triggers. It was like he was like really close with his mom. And then after the surgery, he was like, yeah, it was just really hard for us to just reconnect because I felt like he just described her as like a different person.
Yeah. So kidney, right? So let's say kidney issues, there are several things, right? One is you have the surgery scar itself. So in this class, we're gonna do some needling, okay? Anybody with scars, if you volunteer, we'll be grateful, okay? And then the loss of the kidney, right? And then going through this thing where the protection, right? So there are lots of things happening, right? So the key is how can we, first of all, still connect to this person's heart of gold, right? And when you have a chance, needle through her scars, okay, with tremendous of love, tremendous of love, right? And see what happens. This is how channels are beautiful. Okay, so we know, like honestly, JJ has she donated one kidney to her one of her siblings or relatives. Okay, so she only has one kidney. Okay, so she constantly have to energize it and stuff like that. Okay, I actually needle through. She actually asked me to take a look. So all her scars were taken care of by her colleagues and friends, right? Fellow acupuncturists, right? But when I was working with her, I discovered, her kidney was removed on the left side, I believe, right? I actually found a scar, and I felt like there's something going on here, right? That's not quite right. It's on the right side. And she went, oh, that's the drain hole. So every surgery, there's a drain on somewhere, okay? So that was actually the drain for that surgery, right? So then I think we didn't even finish that session. She's like, oh, I know what to do now. Thank you. Yeah.
And when you say you discovered the drain hole on the right side, and this is like purely intuition, right? Like you feeling the channels.
Actually, I just connect to her. Things like this come up, and I think you will have plenty. So that's why I'm talking about this sense of connection, right? When we center ourselves and we energize our midbrain, right? We have clarity. I don't even know, why. I mean, for some reason, my hand just want to go there, okay? And I just say, I don't know why, but there's something here, right? And then that becomes a clue for her to say, that was a drain hole. Interesting, right? Yeah. So instead of So all the books are like, okay, this and this, match that, and right? Don't trust any of those because it's going to be different, okay? Even the thing I'm sharing, it's going to be different when you experience it, right? Yeah, trust yourself, okay? Yeah. When I treat and, when we work on people and you stay like 16 feet away, I know you have a lot of senses, okay? The key really is for you to connect to that person's heart of gold. Then all your senses will become clarity, okay? Then you know what to do, okay? There are people call themselves medical intuitives or intuitives, right? It's because they can sense, right? But lots of time they sense it by just pure empathy and sympathy, okay? Eventually they get hurt, they get wounded, right? Then they need to somehow shut it down, right? Or they need to charge a lot of money because they figure that I'm sacrificing this, right? Use this right, and you'll be happy you do. Okay, you feel very, very rewarding. Okay, because to me that's your gift. Okay, when we use, to me the most rewarding thing in life is to be able to use our gifts. Instead of fear our gifts, man, that's hard. Okay, yeah. Do you have access to your mother-in-law?
She is in England at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, she lives there.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, so connect to her. Okay, what's her name?
Her name is
Trudy.
Trudy?
Trudy?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I often do this, okay, when people are talking and they mention somebody they hate, somebody they love, somebody they lose, or something, whatever, right? I always ask for their name. And when I hear it, I will repeat it and I will connect to this person. This is how I build my network, okay? Yeah. Cloud networking. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Man, I have so much to share, okay, but and I'm not going to finish this, okay, because I actually write this up. And the resolution is, if it's physical, we do scars, we look at bites, okay. So if somebody get bitten by a dog, maybe a friend's dog, okay. Got this lady coming in and, got bitten by a golden retriever, her boyfriend's golden retriever, very friendly, they were very playful. They somehow reached when the dog was eating and boom, and she had this PTSD for a long time. Couldn't sleep, nightmare and terror and stuff like that, right? So we can resolve that, okay? Animal bites are especially critical, okay? Actually, it's not fight or flight. It's a condition we call pause, okay? So in the book, please, read that. We'll cover that next time. Pause is a very, very important condition, okay? So when all else fails, okay, most likely this person has dissociation or pause mode. Okay, if we understand that, we honestly change people's lives. Okay, because these two conditions are not talked about at all. Okay, so we talk about emotion, right? So it's basically boundary, right? Liberty, stagnation, boundary, right? Boundary. As long as we have a choice, a person has a boundary. Okay, the key word is choice. The key word is not suppression. It's not people asking us to do this. So we're always. So to me, it's like, okay, when we are not blaming the triggers, but instead we look at what's being triggered, we are healing. Okay, most of us, grow up blaming the triggers. My mom did this, my dad did this, school teacher, right? Society, country, the world, right? And right? That's what we do, right? We blame external triggers, right? But to me, once we go inside and say, what's being triggered? We start to cultivate ourselves, right? Instead of being a candle in the wind, that we're trying to control the external environment the best we can, right? We become a lighthouse. Every time there's a storm that knocks us down or get us to be wavy, right? We're like, man, that's a good storm, right? Then we get better and better. Okay, that's cultivation. So really, in this class, if nothing else, okay, I keep going back to the fundamentals. Okay, it's not like I don't want to share how I treat people, this protocol, that protocol. I have all these things, but I normally do it once because the person come in are different, right? And even the same person coming in is going to be different the next time. So I'm not using the same thing over and over again, right? But I do share is like, these are my fundamentals, right? So the key fundamental is Ren 1, purpose, right? Connection to loving kindness. Please do this as much as you can, okay? Because this, to me, is really, really the fundamentals. Okay? If you do this, you will develop so fast. Okay? You'll be very, very surprised. When we do this, we remove the biggest hurdle in any doctor or in any practitioner, which is fear. Okay? Which is the sense that I don't know what to do. Okay? I'm going to make a fool out of myself. This person is paying me money to spend an hour with him. Okay? When we don't have that, our natural ability will shine. Okay? Everyone in here has a lot of heart. Okay? We just need, when we do this, we're activating our heart. We're reconfirming ourselves, our lack of, if any of us is in lack of confidence or something like that, we feel like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do is the most beautiful words. I don't know what to do. Let's make it up. A lot of times we say, I don't know. That means, oh, yeah, I'm going to screw it up. I don't know. I don't want to touch it. I don't know means, let's do it. We don't know what's going to happen. You know what that road leads to? Don't know. Okay, let's go check it out. Right? That to me, I don't know. And we can still, I use I don't know all the time, but my I don't know is like, I don't know. Not sure. Somehow this works. It's the same words, but if it comes from the center, it's really, I don't know. Children have so many I don't knows, right? That's where curiosity, creativity, this love, this passion comes from, right? As adults, we want to know everything. We want to know what's going to happen, right? And that put us in so much anxiety, right? And because of that, we don't try. We lose our creativity, our sensitivity, our curiosity, right? What a shame, right? So let's get that back, okay? I don't know, okay? I think with these things, we'll be able to, when we connect to loving kindness, it becomes very easy for us to connect to other people's heart of gold, okay? And when that happens, we are actually reconfirming we have one, right? So there's no such thing as, I gotta love myself first before I can love other people. That's highly conditional, right? So when we do this, it's very, very interesting, okay? Again, these are hard to explain, but, do the fundamentals, okay? Okay, so let's take a quick break. And today, you guys